Hey guys, welcome back to Games of War. Today's episode is top 3DS RPGs. Before we get started, I want to give a big thank you to my boy Michael Yanacito, aka Musclefuck Frankie, for sending me this totally bitchin' PlayStation hat, which would have been more appropriate last video, but timing doesn't always work out. So this video was not planned. I did not have any intentions of making this video just yet. But one of the things in gaming that I love the most is pleasant surprises. For the longest time, I've been looking forward to God Wars on the PlayStation Vita. This is a tactical RPG. I have had it pre-ordered for quite some time off the NIS store. The game has been released. This is an amazing limited edition with some completely beautiful contents, and this was really anticipated. Now, I wanted to dive into this and play the hell out of it. Nothing was going to stop me. This is an RPG that actually on the Vita has full English voice acting, has got animated cutscenes. No expense was spared on this RPG, and it is a good one. However, I bought a game the same day that I bought this that I had been following and occasionally checking up on, but it wasn't expected to be what it is to me now. It wasn't supposed to have this big of impact. And that's going to lead into my top 3DS RPG video, because I just wanted to gush about just how damn good the 3DS RPG lineup has been over its lifespan, and how much I've enjoyed all of the role-playing games. And not to mention, another thing that caps off this video was the epic announcements from the, I believe it was E3 Nintendo section, that just completely blew me away regarding the 3DS. Now, a few videos back, I did a DS top RPGs. And my favorite DS RPG of all time, and then one that's up pretty close, was Radiant Historia and Strange Journey. Now, this E3, my inbox was being blown up. They said, hey man, did you see Radiant Historia is getting like a remaster, a reimagining, reworked visuals, new cutscenes, voice acting, extra content. The feeling was ecstatic. I was overjoyed. I was ready to explode with emotion, because this game got me through a dark time back in those 2011-12 years. I was having some shitty stuff go on, and this was an escape into another world for me. It took me out of the shit that was going on and plugged me into a world where I was in charge of saving it before the sand overtook, and I was using the White Chronicle to rewrite history, and I absolutely loved it. Still love it to this day. It's getting a remaster, and I didn't see this coming anywhere, but I cannot describe how happy I am to see one of my favorite games ever get a remaster on the 3DS. Same thing with Strange Journey Redo. Just out of left field for me. It was so cool to see two of my favorite games get remasters, proving that the 3DS has got plenty of life in it. Nintendo is not going to slow down or drop support. Monster Hunter Stories is coming out. That's amazing, the amiibos. It's not going to slow down. The Switch has not derailed any momentum. The 3DS is still growing strong, and for that I am very thankful. So the game in question that I absolutely cannot get enough of, everything else will stop until this is finished, is none other than Ever Oasis. And man, where do I start with this one? Now, I had been aware of this, as I always pay attention to up-and-coming RPGs. I knew it was done by the developer that had worked on the two Zelda games on the 3DS. What I didn't really prepare myself for was just how damn charming this game would be. This game just makes you smile from ear to ear the entire time you're playing. From the lush, beautiful environments, the perfect choice of color and color palette, the amazing desert theme, the town building, the characters, character development, the interaction between the characters is done so well. Everything is just so charming in this. I cannot believe how much fun I'm having with a game that isn't really terribly new. We've all done the town kind of building from the ground up, starting a new town, build a flourishing oasis in this game, and it is just the way it's executed. It's the execution of this game that really just puts a smile on your face. Now, in the beginning, your brother had an oasis, and there's this thing in the land called chaos, which are these like dark plants that kind of grow up on shit and just suck the life out of it, and it brings these monsters and horrible shit. And your brother's oasis was shut down, and he kind of gives you the keys to the new kingdom, and you go and start your own oasis. And all the characters in this they're called seedlings, and they're like descendants of the great tree. And you're a seedling, and you venture out into the desert, and you start your own oasis from the ground up, and you entice new characters that you meet along the way to come live there. And as you start to build it up and build up It's hard to say this one. Bloom booths. Bloom booths. Those are like the shops that you have in your Oasis, and different people sell like juice or fruit or novelties, things like that. And you build these shops from the ground up, and you go out and collect materials, and you bring the materials to the shop owners, and that makes them happy, and that in turn puts off happiness, and your rainbow gets bigger. And it's just a gorgeous, gorgeous game. Full and day-night cycle. Some dungeon crawling, very nice puzzles in the dungeons, very enjoyable, very reminiscent of Zelda. But it's not a clone or a wannabe or a Me Too. It is something all on its own. I'm completely captivated with it. All of the characters you meet, all so much fun to complete their different activities, get to know them and see the different races and characters, and then have them be happy and come back to your Oasis and just watch your little oasis in the desert that started off with nothing grow and grow and grow and become more expanded, and watching everybody happy around you, and seeing your bustling city and hosting festivals and recruiting more people. It's just an amazing game. I want to throw this at number 1 on my list, but you know what? I always got to give it a little bit of a honeymoon period, you know? The honeymoon period is when you first get the game and you're all about it and you're excited. You got to beat the game first. You got to let a weeks sink in, really do some reflecting, and then if it still holds up, then throw it on a list. But I want to so bad, but I just got to say right out of the way, this is an amazing game. I'm about 20 hours into it, and I will not stop until it's finished. And also, I've got to say, an Ever Oasis. If you are playing this game with the 3D off, you are doing yourself a great disservice. Now, let's not forget, with all this new 2DS coming out, 2DS XL, 2DS, this system was a 3DS. The 3D is there for a reason, and it works damn good now with that face tracking 3D. You've got no excuse. You flick that 3D on, and it opens up a window into the game. Everything from those vast shimmering deserts that stretch out, everything just pops to life off that screen. I can't see why you wouldn't want to have it on. Now, for those that have headaches or whatever, it affects your eyes, I normally would call you a pussy, but I bought PlayStation VR and I get motion sickness. I can't. The second I start playing that, I start sweating like a pig and I get sick. So if it really does bother you, I understand. I get it. But if you can handle the 3D, it works so well in this game. It just makes the game pop off the screen, and it just gives it a depth, a subtle depth that really enhances the visual style and graphics, in my opinion. So you guys know how we do on these lists. Let's go ahead and get the honorable mentions out of the way first. Not that these don't deserve a spot damn near the top, because Lord knows they do, but everybody's heard of Fire Emblem, everybody's heard of the other couple games I'm going to mention, so I want to put this video out to kind of dig a little deeper and show you guys the hidden stuff. But I have to mention Fire Emblem. It's my favorite strategy RPG series of all time. I think it's overtaken Shining Force at this point, due to the simple fact that it's still continuing on. These are some of the most amazing strategy RPGs ever made. I like them more as they go on. I know a lot of people kind of think the opposite. They like the older entries more. I love the improvements, going back to the barracks and the character interactions and the bonds that you form. I love the battle systems, the storylines. Fate's Conquest and Birthright, I absolutely think is a masterpiece. I think to myself, how could somebody write these 3 different stories and kind of intertwine them all together and form one cohesive story with so many awesome choices and so many awesome gameplay twists? It really is a masterpiece, and I really was lucky to get the collector's edition here. This is really sought after. It was hard to get when it first came out. It comes with a beautiful 3DS pouch with some amazing reversible artwork. It's got some awesome keychains. I even bought the 3DS Fire Emblem model. Just a Fire Emblem super fan. Really happy to get the newest collector's edition for Shadows of Valentia. A remake of an older game with some third-person segments in here. So some exploration you're actually going to see behind the character. Fire Emblem is completely 100% the best strategy RPG series ever made. I back that up fully. If you haven't played one, definitely don't hesitate to start and pick one up today and love it. One of my favorite extras that I got by just simply pre-ordering the game was this amazing map. Now, this is a map that is made of metal, so it's really detailed, it's raised, and it's kind of embossed, and I've got it framed up here, but it's just such a cool map, and I love the texture of it. So if you got your hands on this, consider yourself lucky, because this map is pretty sought after. A metal map, that's for damn sure. Another RPG series that is completely worthy of being at the top spot or the second spot, that is pretty well known on the system. These are the Bravely Default games, Bravely Default and Bravely Second. Now, quality through and through. That's all I can say about these. When I first played Bravely Default, this was a throwback to what RPGs used to be, should have been. I know with the Vita, which I'm a huge fan of, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the RPGs in the Vita and some newer RPGs can get pretty silly with the kind of perverted shit and the kind of schoolgirl thing and the boobs popping out. And it's nice to have a good, solid throwback RPG that minuses all that bullshit and focuses on story, beautiful medieval elements, great battle systems, good stories, great characters. If you've grown up playing amazing games like Final Fantasy on the old consoles, some of the PS1 RPGs where it's all about strong content and great stories and great battle systems, huge overworlds to explore, none of this shit where you just pick a menu where to go and you're there already. Visually, the games are very strong, among some of the best looking games on the system. Soundtracks are epic. If you like your traditional RPGs with overworld maps and tons of great characters, voice acting, quality through and through, definitely check out the Bravely Default games. Some of the best traditional RPGs are home on the 3DS, a beautiful improvement to 7. 8 is the top of the class. I absolutely adored it on the PS2. This is a very faithful conversion with a few tweaks here and there, but overall, Dragon Quest fans, you're going to love the 3DS. And the third one, I don't need to explain this one to you at all. Everybody knows it, everybody loves it. It is near the top of the class on the 3DS, and we've got a surprising number of great entries on the handheld. One of the early games announced for the 3DS, because if we can remember back, there wasn't a whole lot in terms of a launch lineup, and everybody was waiting for this one here, and it didn't disappoint. A very nice reworking of the original 64 classic. It looks absolutely stunning on the 3DS, looks amazing in 3D. We've got the follow-up to the Super Nintendo Zelda game. I didn't think anybody saw this one coming. This is A Link Between Worlds, another excellent game, beautiful graphics. The Zelda series needs no introduction. We've got Triforce Heroes, and we have also got the Dynasty Warriors, Hyrule Warriors mashup crossover. I enjoyed every one of these games, and whether you consider Zelda an RPG or not, you cannot deny its quality, its excellence, and it has got a home on the 3DS represented beautifully. If you're a fan of SMT, the 3DS has got you covered, and I could easily have put the number 5 spot either the Devil Survivor series or the Shin Megami Tensei numbered series. We've got 4 in Apocalypse. Now these are dungeon crawlers using the same kind of battle system where you can kind of recruit demons and all that. Tough as nails, the 4th one in Apocalypse. Very character driven, story driven, and it's like a third person game, so you're going to see your character. Whereas the Devil Survivor games, this is Overclocked and Devil Survivor 2, they're strategy RPG games where you're stuck in Tokyo, and it's got a great system where you kind of make choices, and these choices have an effect on the story. But no, these are both pretty well-known series, I'd say, especially 4 and Apocalypse. Devil Survivor has been pretty popular since the DS, but I want to go with a more obscure entry for number 5 on the list in the SMT series, and that is none other than an old Sega Saturn game released in 1996 or 97, I believe, that never made its way out of Japan, Soul Hackers. And this is such an amazing game. I can't really put my finger on why I like it so much or why I connected with it. A lot of it has to do with the storyline and the setting. It's kind of a futuristic, cyberpunk-ish kind of dystopian future where you're in this group of hackers called the Spookies. And one of your characters has been like possessed by this demon, Nemissa. She's just kind of mouthy and smarts off, and she's an awesome character. The dungeon crawling in this is, as you know, first person, and it's all of that demon fusing, arguing with demons back and forth, heckling. Sometimes they're going to fight you immediately, sometimes they're going to jump you, sometimes they're going to talk and answer questions, sometimes they're going to join you immediately. It's a 50-50 on what you get, and it's so much fun interacting with the demons and fusing new ones. And that futuristic storyline in this is so amazing. I loved my team of hackers. I loved the forward-thinking ideas in this. There's the Paradigm X, which is like the beta of like basically the internet back in like '96. They envision this huge network that's going to bring together all the citizens of a Maui city. And it's very forward-thinking. It's very similar to the internet that we have now. They were thinking of this back in 1996 with the Paradigm X, which I know the internet was around back then, but this is really forward-thinking stuff. Amazing story. I enjoyed this game through and through. Soul Hackers is easily number 5 on the list. Coming in pretty high on the list, we've got Lord of Magnum Made in Heaven. And I've got to say, out of all the games, this one was a blind buy. I hadn't researched this at all. I hadn't been following it. I knew nothing of its existence until I walked into the store one day, a local Second and Charles, and saw it sitting on the shelves. I made a split decision and I picked it up, and I was very pleasantly surprised. When I see Xseed, 9 times out of 10 it's going to be something right up my alley. Let's talk about this nice little box set. For standard retail price, you got the nice box, you've got a nice soundtrack, and this game's got some great music, and also the star of the show is a really nice full color manual. It's so nice to see a manual that has full color, and it's got really detailed backstory and descriptions on all the characters, and it just gives you a nice insight into the world and what's going on and the concept that they're trying to get at, and all of the characters and a little bit of personality. A nice touch that we don't see enough anymore. I always love when they go the extra mile to put next artwork that comes through the squares. It's just a nice touch. This game has you playing as an innkeeper named Lux, who is really lost in the world. He has an inn that no one ever visits. He's never had a visitor. Now his father, who handed the inn down to him, always said, when you finally start getting your first guests, treat them like family. So without any guests, he's been forced to go out and kind of mine and salvage crystals and sell those crystals to make a living, make ends meet. One day out in the caves, he finds a girl encased in crystal. He brings her home and things start going down and visitors start arriving, her sisters, and the storyline is really cool. It's pretty well written, a lot of funny dialogue and witty humor. And what I enjoyed most about this game is the battle system. It's a very refreshing pace. There's only so much you can do anymore with turn-based or grid or strategy RPGs. This uses a kind of feature like bowling. When you throw a bowling ball and the bowling ball hits the pin and it knocks over and knocks the other pins down, pretty much the same concept. You hit an enemy and it's going to fall back into the enemies and knock them all down and scatter them. It's a really cool mechanic, and I couldn't get enough. It makes the battles fast-paced, fun. It's something different, and I really enjoyed the storyline. It's kind of the damsel in distress, where you've got 5 or 6 different girls all fighting for your attention, and different choices you can make involved in the storyline in that way. And Lux is a great character, great graphics and sound. Overall, this was an RPG that pleasantly surprised me, came out of nowhere. If you're into RPGs with something new in terms of a battle system, and very solidly written dialogue and great memorable characters and the whole female element, look no further than Lord of Magna. It pleasantly surprised me. I think it'll do the same for you. Getting down to the #1 spot, we've got Return to Popola Croas, A Story of Seasons Tale. And what this does is combine one of my favorite PSP games, Popola Croas, which is actually a PS1 RPG. The PSP version combines 1 and 2 into one package. Playing as young Prince Pietro on his 13th birthday, discovers that his mother, who he had thought had been dead all this time, is actually in a coma, that a witch has cast a spell on her, and that this witch resides deep in the forest, and his mom is still alive and can be saved. This takes that familiar theme and story and applies the Story of Seasons coat of paint and theme, which, if you played a Story of Seasons game, they're fantastic. If you played Harvest Moon, it's the Harvest Moon makers' continuation of Harvest Moon, but they're not allowed to call it Harvest Moon because a different company has the Harvest Moon name, so they make their Harvest Moon, which is the original Harvest Moon, which is called Story of Seasons. Whew! Yeah, that's a great mechanic. So you're going to be taking this RPG gameplay where you're going to be going to different towns, and you got a really nice battle system, and you're going to be going home and tending to crops and animals, and it's a very nice merging and combination of two fantastic genres. Charming does not begin to describe this game. It's cute as a button, if you will. Just overall, the characters, Prince Pietro is great. The graphical style is still done in that same bright pastel, like Saturday morning cartoon, hand-drawn art style. I was very surprised to see this make a return. I didn't think Popola Croas sold too well on the PSP. I know it's very obscure and nobody's heard much of the PS1 game, so a real treat to get an RPG like this. Don't miss out on this one. It is a fantastic RPG, well worth your time. #2 on my list is easily Fantasy Life. This game consumed hundreds of hours of my life, and I still can't be mad at it. This is kind of like Ever Oasis in the fact that it's so effortlessly how charming this is, from the world to the way the characters are drawn, from the color choices, the beautiful music that accompanies the action. Take an action RPG and place a system in it where you can fulfill different lives. You could choose to be a blacksmith, a hunter, a magician, a soldier, and when you pick that life, it opens up a whole new line of quests and story-based quests depending on that life. And you can change classes at will. It's a class system, but they're called lives. And the story is so well done, so charming, so easy to follow, a breath of fresh air. It's not overly complex and complicated warring factions of another nation. You know, it's very simple, lighthearted, but very effective. It's told effectively through beautiful in-game cutscenes, great anime cutscenes in the beginning. Just a charming tale through and through. The music is fantastic. And the great thing about this game is the world is huge, but it's all so distinctive from each area is so well drawn, so well laid out, and so distinct from the other that you can't help but fall in love as you explore this place, as the enemies get tougher, as your character gets more powerful, you learn new moves, you get deeper into your life and you learn new abilities. If you're like me, you're going to become addicted and try to max out every single life. It's that enjoyable. This game is a breath of fresh air. I enjoyed it immensely from start to finish. Fantasy Life is a must-own. And hands down, my favorite RPG on the 3DS as of right now, July 2017, is still the amazing Stella Glow. Man, 80 hours, strategy RPG gameplay at its finest. I was a huge fan of Luminous Arc 1 and 2, which are the games that preceded this. Stella Glow is a tale of witches, betrayal, good-natured people, and saving the world. And it's been told a million times before, but what makes RPG special is the way it makes you feel when you become a part of a team or a party of characters that you feel like you know, the way it's conveyed to you through dialogue, through emotion, through events that happen. This game just grabbed a hold of me and never let go. I absolutely loved the storyline. I loved meeting Alto and his band of companions and meeting this evil witch Hilda, who isn't quite what she seems. Characters will surprise you. There's twists and turns. The strategy RPG gameplay is masterfully done. You're able to level up and learn new abilities. I absolutely loved the songs and the way they sing and have different effects on the battlefield. This is a strategy RPG done to perfection in my book. The story was so good, so memorable. Absolutely loved everything about Stella Glow. When it comes to handheld RPGs, to me they have really bridged the gap in terms of quality and enjoyment for me personally with consoles. I don't look down upon handheld RPGs in any less form. I love them, I look forward to them. I cherish their special limited editions like this. Stella Glow deserves to be in your lineup. It's an amazing strategy RPG and it is my favorite RPG on the 3DS. Guardian Heroes was an action RPG that I truly loved on the Saturn back in the day. I played this over and over again with the different choices and different decisions, leveling up different characters, unlocking different characters for the battle mode. This was a very special game. I loved the story and the characters and the hand-drawn 2D art. The plane switching, you could jump from the middle plane to the forefront to the very back and fight on all 3 different levels. Code of Princess is done by the same development team responsible for Guardian Heroes. Now, it's not an RPG, but it is a beat-em-up action RPG with a great storyline. Very strong story, all fully voice acted. This has got the gameplay in spades where it counts. Solid beat-em-up action, lovable cast of characters. Solange is a great main character and she's not bad in the eyes, and the supporting cast is awesome. There's a character that is constantly losing body parts and replacing them with other ones. There's a bard who is hilarious. There's so many likable characters in this. I just love playing through this. It's not long by any means. You're going to finish it pretty quick, but you're going to fall in love with the characters, the well-written story, professional voice acting through and through. This is a solid update to one of my favorite games of all time. Code of Princess, while not an RPG, definitely deserves your time and your purchase. Now, I'm also including Rhythm Thief because it is just that damn good of a game and it's so underloved, and I've got to mention it. It's not an RPG, you're not going to be grinding, you're not going to be leveling up. What this is a combination of kind of like Elite Beat Agents or a rhythm dancing game and Professor Layton with some light Phoenix Wright elements thrown in there. It's kind of a point and click, but it's a storyline that is told so well, and it really came out of the blue as well from Sega. You play as Raphael, who is like Phantom R, who, a normal kid by day, very shy, timid. By night, he like goes out and steals like famous artworks and then returns them, and it goes by Phantom R, and he's so mysterious. And the storyline really kicks into high gear when he meets a girl and events from his past and his father comes into play. I won't spoil it for you. The story is fantastic. I loved the gameplay, great musical selection. Production value is spot on with this. If you can find it, definitely track down a copy because I don't see it out and about at all very much, but it's definitely a great game from Sega and one that surprised me, just came out of nowhere. I hope you guys have enjoyed taking a look at my 3DS RPGs of choice, and it sure is difficult to narrow down a list when you've got so many RPGs that are amazing on the system. Thankfully, Nintendo is choosing to continue to support the 3DS. Some of my favorite games are yet to come. If you guys have some favorites, I'd love to know in the comments below. Thank you guys for sticking by the channel. As always, Games of War is absolutely nothing without you.